In its simplest form, what the legislative process is are the steps that a bill must go through to be enacted. The idea is it starts in one form and it works its way through the process. And at different steps of the process, different people see it, they work on it, they get to comment on it, and where appropriate, they get to make changes. And it must do each of them by a set period of time, kind of like an obstacle course. Our legislature is split into
Busy.
Busy, yeah. All good. Okay.
Can I just say on the poll, I feel like I was right. On the time.
Oh.
Hey,
What
Joe.
time did you say?
Hey, Joe. First I said 7, I changed to 9.
Oh.
Either way.
Hello.
Yeah, you were a lot
start in
closer
the
than
House,
I
they
was.
go all the way through the Policy Committee, the Fiscal Committee, they get voted on the House floor. If they make it that far,
Well done, you guys.
Is the camera on or anything?
I'm bringing it up too.
No? Okay.
Oh, I can't believe you guys didn't concur on that ferry bill.
You guys really are. We had it easy.
What?
I can't believe you didn't concur on that ferry bill.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
The Wall Street Tribune covered you guys.
Did they really?
They did.
Oh my God. I saw the Times, the New York Times. Just kind of got it out of your system in high school. But I knew it
Good. And pick up. Can you believe it?
was. Once you guys got going, it was like, ooh.
It was so hot in there. You surprised?
Oh my God, they're beating us here.
Oh, here they are.
We're trying to. I've never seen such a crowd.
So many.
They bring their own.
You know, like,
If you don't have any questions, I can. Don't worry, the fleet's coming.
That's ridiculous.
but it's blazing really badly.
Uh-huh. You already took off the shirt.
Yeah, I'll ask him. So when's back to the office after this?
Oh, yeah.
We talked to him. Oh, we said
What an incredible place, and now the core of the entire park is the Daniel J. Evans Wilderness Area. It's a delight and a wonderful place to visit. When I was a kid from Bainbridge Island, I was the leader in our ski club. Bainbridge Island was almost all strawberries in those days, and so our symbol was the strawberry on skis. We came here and skied nearly every weekend. This is a tremendous location, Olympic National Park, Hurricane Ridge. It's a beautiful place and certainly one of my favorite places. You know, in the early 1900s, the United States Navy was looking for a place to build a major shipyard here in the Pacific Northwest. They wanted to build the shipyard on Lake Washington, just north of Seattle. But to do so, they'd have to create a new waterway and perhaps a locks to get out to Puget Sound. They decided against that after the studies took so long.
Happy Sine Die, everybody. I'm Jamie Peterson, the Senate Majority Leader. I'm joined by my deputy, Pankadingra, and my Ways and Means Chair, Senator June Robinson. and delighted to be here at this point in session. I will say over the last 3 days, we had some real doubts about whether we would actually fulfill our promise to adjourn on time, but very happy to be here, not even brushing midnight, notwithstanding the fire alarm and evacuating the building.
That was the capital budget. It was totally fire. It was totally fire.
That's so modern of me.
That's me.
I'm glad we weren't cooked.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
All right. I know we're making Representative Stonier cringe. Okay. So, look, we were here 60 days ago, or just a little bit more than that, talking to all of you about what we were hoping to do this session. The big objectives were to protect the state of Washington and our people against a hostile, malevolent federal administration. We made pretty good progress on that. Major highlights of that include the masking bill for law enforcement officers, the bill that protects the integrity of our election data, and the bill that makes us part of the West Coast Health Collaborative and make sure that we have science dictating our vaccine recommendations for people. We wanted to make Washington more affordable. And one of the big things that we did along that line was, after a dramatic investment of time by the House, we passed the millionaire's tax, which is going to make sure that small businesses are getting the biggest tax break in history. People are not going to be paying sales tax anymore when it goes into effect on grooming and hygiene products, on over-the-counter medicines, on diapers, adult or baby diapers. And then maybe more importantly, we have a way to fix an upside-down tax system that's been plaguing us for 90 years and provide adequate revenue that we can make investments in things that the people of our state care about. So I think that has given us a lot of hope. We also passed a bill by Senator Krishna Dasan that's going to provide a pretty significant expansion of this senior and disabled property tax credit for folks. So, I think some good progress. Oh, and a wonderful Representative Mena bill about energy assistance for low-income folks as well. So some good progress there. And then, we did manage to land all of our 3 budgets. And I think we feel pretty good about that, notwithstanding all the challenges that we faced. So in all of it, I guess the big thing that I want to say is I am so grateful for the strong communication and collaboration that we had with our House partners. So.
As I frequently, I'm Speaker of the House, Lori Jenkins, and I'm here with our Majority Leader, Joe Fitzgibbon, and our Floor Leader, Monica Stonier. Either Senator Peterson or I frequently say this: there is zero sunlight between what he just said and what I would have said, and so I won't repeat all those things. I will add a couple of things. We came in. This was it was very helpful this session that we had actually the same priorities as caucuses. Right, protecting people from the malevolence of the federal government, from the attacks of the federal government, and then affordability being the second big thing. And so in addition to the bills that Senator Peterson talked about, we also passed the flock camera bill. We passed an Immigrant Rights Protection Act. We passed a bill prohibiting the impersonation of law enforcement officers, and we created uniform standards for all law enforcement officers across the state of Washington. So we really accomplished a lot in that realm. The bill that Senator Peterson mentioned, which addresses using science for our healthcare decision-making and our vaccine decision-making, also was very much in an affordability realm for people, because it made sure that people won't have to do co-pays for preventative services. So that's another kind of affordability piece that we did. The biggest affordability bill, as Senator Peterson said, was really the millionaire's tax that we spent a bit of time on in the House. And, really, that bill means that when Washingtonians walk into the grocery store, anything that they buy on a regular basis is basically going to be tax-free at this point. And that is an incredible help, I think, on affordability. The free school lunches that are part of that bill and that are in our budget will also mean that no family is going to have to worry about buying school lunches, buying food for school lunches, or worry about that, or really breakfasts for their kids. So that really adds affordability help too. So the final thing I'll just say is we came into the session really worried about our budget and what that was going to look like for Washingtonians. I think the biggest help we actually had was the last revenue forecast before the budget was due out. Our budget teams worked certainly more collaboratively than I have ever seen them work in my 6 years being speaker. And that really made for good alignment as we prioritized and tried to make sure that we were investing in ways that were helping Washingtonians. My hats off to our budget teams, whether it was transportation or capital budget or the operating budget, which was the one that really had the most significant fiscal concerns, revenue concerns for us. They just did an extraordinary job of collaborating and being creative and finding ways to continue building help and investments in the people of Washington. So very proud of what we were able to accomplish in this 60-day session, and I think we're open for questions.
Can you explain on the House side how concerned you were or how close you were to not having the votes on the data center tax break bill?
I mean, we worked on it over the course of the day, really this last day, a little bit yesterday. We had members out and members in, and I would just say it was actually just a process of talking through the issues with members to get us there. So I'm glad that I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm glad we had the time to be able to do that. We did not think after Tuesday night. We did not think after Tuesday night that we would have the time to talk through that bill with people, and we did, and that's what helped us get there.
To follow up,
We've stunned people into silence.
can you explain the interplay there that seemed to play out with the mosquito fleet bill and Representative Nance and what kind of tension there was there?
Representative Nance very much wanted to see the bill as passed the House. He was not content with the changes made in the Senate. I think both of those issues were on their own tracks, but Representative Nance was clear right up until the end that he was not comfortable with the changes made in the Senate. And as we see with many bills, that meant that we didn't reach a bill that both chambers could support in time. I don't know that that and the data center bill, there were fairly different dynamics on both of those bills.
I have a really lame question. Any favorite sunny day outfits?
No. I'm wearing mine. So you all took a picture of me in my T-shirt.
Did they get your socks, though?
Yeah, these are my favorite sunny day
She was
socks.
buttering up to the governor.
They're chest socks. Yeah.
Good move.
Yeah.
I think my favorite outfit was Senator Frank's.
Very shiny.
Very shiny.
Yeah.
Were there any Democratic legislative priorities that didn't make it this session that you expect to bring back next year?
I'm certain that we go ahead.
You go ahead.
I'm certain that we will be back working, for example, on juvenile rehabilitation. That was definitely something that our caucus worked hard on and was not able to find agreement on a path on. But I think there's a strong feeling in our caucus that that's an area that needs more work in future sessions.
Yeah, I think this is less about bills that didn't pass this session, but it's becoming more and more clear that the federal tariffs and things that the federal government are doing are having an impact on jobs in Washington state. And so I do think that over the interim, we will be working likely on a jobs package for next session to try and hopefully stem them from putting us into a recession. So that'll be work that I think we will do over the interim too.
I suspect data centers will be a continuing focus for us, because as we become more and more aware of both the environmental impacts of those facilities and also the trade-offs that we have to make in terms of electricity and water consumption and the effect of that on ratepayers, that's a balance that we're going to have to try to find with that industry. And then I think the other thing that we couldn't really take on in the short session, but that will become more of a focus, is that I think there's growing realization that we're going to have to do some more work on education funding and potentially revisit the whole model for how we distribute money so that it is maybe more equitably distributed among districts according to where there is greater need.
And I'll add access to health care. I think we have to do a lot more work in strengthening up our public hospitals, our public district hospitals, and really making sure when we take a look at our entire state that people, no matter where they live, have access to health care.
Does that include revisiting the charity care bill that was introduced?
Oh, I am sure people will be interested in revisiting that issue as well. And, you know, I think there are real challenges when you have hospitals, for example, like in the Spokane area, where people from Idaho who have lost health care are coming across the border to get access to health care in the state of Washington. And it's really sad because, in a sense, we're creating like healthcare refugees. Like, they can't access healthcare in their own state. A lot of it has to go back to the federal government and what the federal government is doing in actually removing access to healthcare. And when states like Washington make sure that our citizens are taken care of, we do have other residents coming in. And, you know, we're one country. We're not going to put our borders around our state, but that is something we have to take a look at. And this is, you know, I've said this to you guys before. This country works because there's partnership between the federal government and state governments. And when the federal government has declared war on states, especially blue states, these are the realities that we have to deal with.
I think one of the other areas you'll see us working on more and more is Representative Shaver's AI bill passed this year, which begins a structure for regulation of the AI industry in Washington state. And so I think that is a good base for us to begin building from. So I think it's good to have had that move forward this year. So these are less, I can't believe I'm on sine die and already talking about the things that I'm going to do next session. But I think that that's another thing that we'll see probably an increasing number of pieces of legislation addressing.
Speaking of the data center bill, can you talk a little bit more about why that kind of fell apart and didn't make it this year?
Well, it didn't have enough votes to get out of the Ways and Means. I mean, fundamentally, look, notwithstanding the concerns that I expressed, I think that there were both businesses that operate the data centers and building and construction trades folks who depend on those data centers for jobs that really wanted us to press pause before we, from their perspective, rushed into regulation and potentially shut off that whole industry in the state.
It was a really big policy for a short session, is what I would say.
How much pushback were you seeing from lobbyists for Amazon and some of the other tech companies on that one?
I mean, we certainly had that testimony in Ways and Means, but I don't think it was really anything extraordinary.
And I think I would say for our members, the concerns from the building trades folks were more salient. We have for our local IBEW, the Electrical Workers Union, 46 in Seattle has 1,000 of its 6,000 members on the bench right now, out of work. And so they're very sensitive to anything that would potentially reduce the amount of work that would be available to their folks. So I think all of those things go together. But I would say that the labor concerns were, for our side, much more salient than what we heard from businesses.
Any comments on funding for local public defense? I know at the beginning of the session that was thought of as being a pretty dire action with the Supreme Court ruling there was standing for some lawsuits. How dire does that become going into next session with it not making it to the finish line this session?
That's an issue that we're going to have to continue to grapple with, both at the state level and local level. There's no doubt about it, but it just wasn't, we just weren't able to fit that in the budget this year.
But I think this is where we set the roadmap on seeing how we move forward coming back next session. So this is the task force that was Senator Torres's bill. And if you take a look at what that task force is supposed to do, is really about making sure that the legislature can analyze what is happening in our state within different jurisdictions, and also taking a look at what other jurisdictions are doing that is working well. So there's that dichotomy between what the judicial branch says and then what the legislative branch is going to put into statute. So I think that report from the task force will help us figure out what the next steps are going to be.
How do you feel like your relationship with the governor evolved compared to last year? Did you feel improved this year?
I think our communication, excuse me, I think our communication has been very strong, and certainly, we've gotten much more connected with the governor and his team, and I think that's a real contributor to our success this session, is the degree to which both of our caucuses and him and his office were in regular touch and were on the same page, certainly far more often than not.
You may have noticed, if you were there, that he was in the wings on Tuesday night. He was in our caucus on Tuesday night, receiving rousing cheers from the caucus and him giving rousing cheers back. So, it's great to work on a policy that we can all come together on, and there were many others that I'm sure will be, that will be signed. So that always helps in building a positive relationship.
Was he invited to join you tonight for this event?
I don't know. I was just told to be here 10 minutes after Sunny died.
And we haven't always done it with the governor.
Yeah.
It's always been hit or miss.
Yeah.
He was in our caucus today as well,
yeah.
and after we had met to talk about how we could help each other land the plane safely tonight. So I agree. I think it was unquestionably a significant improvement in terms of the communication from last year, and it feels like we're hitting a good stride. I have tremendous appreciation for his staff in particular. I think they've been working really well with us.
Anything else, guys?
Happy Sunny Day.
Thank you. Happy Sunday.
I missed the how's the vibe question this session.